What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates. And so initially in the video today, Bungie give us a couple of bits of information about bugs and fixes that they're targeting for the future. So we'll talk about that, as well as upcoming hidden weapons for the season, a secret area in Savathun's Spire. That's something that'll unlock in the future, but also we have additional hidden chests this week, and then we get a new interview with PC Gamer and Joe Blackburn, which gives insights into more of the content we'll see in the final shape, a hidden final mission for the expansion, future reprised raids, darkness subclasses, the content that we'll see in episodes in 2024, and a bunch of other things. So quite interesting stuff to round up today. As always, if you enjoy it, be sure to get subscribed for more Destiny content, but otherwise, let's get into it. And so first up today, we've got a couple of updates from Bungie. And in relation to content this week in the game, they say, reminder that as with every raid launch, we won't have Trials of Osiris this weekend, but the game mode will be back on September 15th with the Adept version of Igneous Hammer as a flawless reward. And so good to get that clarification there. I'd actually completely forgotten about that in the reset video this week. So just keep in mind September 15th is when we'll see Trials come back, and that means we'll get Iron Banner, I believe, next week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. On top of that though, Bungie responded to a report about a bunch of visual bugs with exotic armor pieces, and Bungie Help said they'll communicate these issues with the team and start an investigation. And there are a few different elements affected by these bugs. They also say they're aware of an issue where the Trials Hunter chest is not able to be made into an ornament, so they are additionally investigating that one. Quick shout out here for any players who haven't fully unlocked Strand yet, but if you finished the Beyond Light campaign, it's just worth keeping in mind that you can now purchase all of the stasis fragments like any other subclass by visiting Elsie Bray. I think a few players had forgotten about that, given that we've had a lot of other stuff going on in the game over the past week. So if you do still need any stasis unlocks, be sure to visit the Exo Stranger on Europa. Up next though, there's a pretty interesting interview between Tim Clark at PC Gamer and Joe Blackburn, the game director for Destiny 2, and they give a few insights about their thought processes, the final shape expansion, and a couple of teasers for that upcoming content. And so, cherry picking some of the interesting stuff right here. They firstly talk about subclasses in the final shape, and as for why the light subclasses got new supers when the darkness subclasses, like Stasis and Strand, still only have one, Joe Blackburn said, for final shape, the rationale is largely thematic. You're literally inside the Traveler, and the Traveler needs your help. And in terms of how the Traveler will help players, the answer is by giving us sweet new abilities. But Bungie specifically want us to feel like Guardians of the Light once again, and so yes, it doesn't appear likely that we'll get a new Darkness subclass in 2024. And they also talk about Strand, and the D2 community's theory that Strand was actually supposed to launch as part of Witch Queen. And Joe Blackburn said, Strand was never designed for Witch Queen. For one thing, it takes longer than a year cycle to make a whole new damage type. Even the green correlation is really funny to us because Strand didn't start out from someone writing green power on a whiteboard. Instead, he says in the same way that Stasis thematically fit the blasted tundra of Beyond Light, Strand suited the neon synthwave illness of Lightfall. I'm sure some people will never believe me, Joe Blackburn said, but Strand was all Lightfall all the time. So some sort of dev insights right there, but they get onto slightly more story teasy stuff. And the article says Bungie has already confirmed that the confrontation with the Witness will take place in the Final Shapes raid, but also promised that non-raiders will experience the climax of the story in full, including any possible defeat of the Witness. And they said this won't just take place in a cutscene, and explains that whereas with Witch Queen and Lightfall campaigns each had 8 missions, the Final Shape will ship with 7 missions on day 1, the implication being that the 8th mission unlocks for everyone once the raid has been beaten. And he also indicates that the format of the mission will be different to the boss encounters against Savathun and Callus from previous campaigns. And when we did the Witness, he says it didn't just pass the sniff test, we knew we needed a different strategy. So a strong indication right there that, of course, the Witness will be part of the raid experience for the Final Shape, but on the conclusion of that raid, it appears that there will be an additional kind of mission unlock requiring the community to rally, and there'll be a piece of content there where we complete the Final Shape, which is available to all players. So suddenly we are going to get some interesting post-raid content in the Final Shape, and it's something that all players will be able to engage with. They're pretty cool right there, and interesting that Bungie are teasing that so early on. Let us know what you think down below, but they ask him whether episodic content for 2024 will stay in the game for longer than seasonal stuff has, and Joe Blackburn says, I don't think we're talking about that yet. The answer that's not great here is that the pressure of how much stuff can fit on the disc is still immense for Destiny, and for the last few years we've been really focusing on how to keep all of the stuff that's critical to the Light and Darkness saga in the game, but we want to make sure that in the next year of Destiny, the most critical content, both from the player enjoyment of logging in every day and from knowing what's happening in the narrative, perspective and seeing the best content remains in the game. And that's the lens we're looking through. And he adds, we've not been able to defeat gravity in terms of making Destiny twice as big as it is, but we want to make sure we're keeping the stuff that's important. And so content will very much continue to cycle in and out of the game, but as they've said recently, the focus will be on keeping the stuff that's most important to the story and ensuring that that can be experienced and understood moving forward. Finally here though, there's a quick-fire Q&A, and they ask what slot does the new Golden Gun themed sniper go in, and he says that will be an energy weapon, but they also point out that we're getting a dungeon key next year, so we will once again get 2 dungeons throughout 2024, but they ask will we see a reprised raid? And Joe Blackburn simply says we have not talked about reprised raids, so leaving that pretty open-ended. The assumption is that Bungie have a plan with that, but whether there will or will not be a reprised raid is something that they're not prepared to tell us just yet. I certainly hope so, I'd love to get Wrath back at least, but it is far from guaranteed. And also, where Witch Queen was a psychic detective story and Lightfall was an 80s action homage, Joe Blackburn describes Final Shape as a mixture between Lord of the Rings and Apocalypse Now, which is certainly an interesting mashup right there. Plus they ask him if it's conceivable or desirable that they would do another saga as long as the Light and Darkness saga, and he says they want to plan out what they do after Light and Darkness better than what they did in the past 10 years. They also ask, will we ever get an all-black shader? And he says certainly, but I think the scary part is that once you give someone super black, is there any other shader that they want in the video game? So perhaps they're holding off for a while on that one. Tim Clark also asked, will we get an ornament made for Verity's brow? And Joe Blackburn said, firstly, get more people to use Verity's brow. And he finishes by saying Destiny is made by a bunch of people that really love the game. That's the easy one, but otherwise teaching people how tools work and having the community understand that is one of the big challenges when talking about delivering content for Destiny. So a pretty interesting interview right there, a couple of pretty useful insights, and let us know what you think down below. I'll also link the full interview in the description box if you want to check it out, certainly worth a read, but share your thoughts in the comment section. And now on to content this week. Of course, we got new seasonal steps for the main quest line. On top of that, if you're running Savathun Spire, there are 2 new hidden chest locations. So for this week in particular, after you clear the very first room in Savathun Spire, when you go through the gravity lift in the middle, as you come to the room with the swinging lanterns right here, there is actually a hidden staircase on the right hand side. If you head through there, we get access to one of the hidden chests that can be opened. There's also a Dark Blade enemy in here with a strand shield, the Enduring Executioner, which is entirely immune, so perhaps there's a hidden way to kill that enemy, I'm not sure. But the next hidden chest is after the second combat space, and just as you go through this sort of portal doors right here, at the first of these sort of Pit of Heresy style lifts, if you turn around and look to the platform below on the other side, you can see there's a deep sight reveal node, and if you activate that, 3 platform steps will actually appear on the side of the wall, and you can head in the direction on screen to pass through a gate that's opened up with another chest. So that gives us access to 4 of the hidden chests in Savathun Spire. So just a quick mention for some of the content this week. Of course, we also got a new cutscene. We won't play it in the video, but that one's visible pretty much immediately upon visiting Eris to start this week's quest steps. So give us any thoughts on this story and quest progress this week if you've already completed it. Moving on though, in connection with the upcoming raid, for any players who aren't diving in immediately with the contest mode on Friday, Destiny Bulletin pointed out once again that players can get the new Every End emblem by watching at least 2 hours of Crota's End's World's First race on Twitch. So a pretty cool emblem there, some folks will want to pick it up, and I'll link an article down below that has details of everything you need to set up in order to unlock it. Also this month we get a new Prime Gaming bundle, so this is the Nebula Prime bundle, and it features the new emblem we can see right there, as well as always adds some exotic drops, a new emote, Ghost Shell, Legendary Ship, and Ghost Projection. So I'll link the Prime Gaming page down below if you want to check it out. Something here which is pretty interesting, and this was shared by JB3 on YouTube. A spoiler alert is absolutely necessary here, as we're going to take a look at an upcoming hidden area. It isn't associated with the raid, but is almost certainly tied to the season's story, or could potentially be something we'll see during the end of the season if there's a sort of finale quest or mission or something like that. But keeping in mind that spoiler warning, I believe above Savathun Spire, there's a hidden area that players have glitched into, which is called the Embarrow Engine. Of course, the lore-savvy folks will know exactly what that means, but in terms of what it looks like, this curious hidden area is almost like an upside-down world, I suppose, and as you look up at the walls and the ceiling, there are staircases running up the walls, and hive lanterns swing in the wrong way, side to side and entirely vertical. So a pretty surreal space right there, kind of reminiscent of the encounter the cubes in Prophecy, but obviously with this not being accessible through the mission at the moment, it does appear to be something locked away potentially for a future mission or quest. We don't really know a whole bunch more about it at the moment, but just thought it was something worth looking at, and I'll link JB3's channel down below if you want to see more of that space. Pretty interesting stuff. But finally right here, let's talk a little bit about weapon updates for Festival of the Lost this year. So, as we pointed out the other day, there will be a new grenade launcher for Festival of the Lost, which is currently hidden, but it's the Cosmic GSP grenade launcher, which is a void rapid fire frame. And it comes with the new Nadir Foundry origin trait. Then for traits in the first slot, it has new perks, like Enlightened Action, where dealing damage improves reload speed and handling, but also Impulse Amplifier, Surplus, Clown Cartridge, Field Prep, and Quick Draw, as well as Loose Change, where applying an elemental debuff to a target increases the weapon's reload speed. Then in its second trait slot, it can get Repulsor Brace, Cascade Point, Wellspring, Collective Action, Destabilizing Rounds, and High Ground. So that'll be a new weapon to look out for, but there are also updates to the existing weapons. So looking at things like Jurassic Green, which of course is a solar rapid fire frame pulse rifle, it can roll Subsistence, Rangefinder, Perpetual Motion, Killing Wind, as well as Heal Clip, Loose Change, and Keep Away. Then in its second slot, Incandescent, Golden Tricorn, Frenzy, Multi-Kill Clip, Encore, Collective Action, and Headseeker. So some interesting rolls on that. But also the Macabre Sniper has been updated, and this is an aggressive frame arc sniper, where in the first trait slot it can now roll Keep Away, Autoloading Holster, Triple Tap, Clown Cartridge, Snapshot, Eddy Current, and Demolitionist. With the second trade slot able to get high impact reserves, Adrenaline Junkie, Vorpal Weapon, Volt Shot, Opening Shot, High Ground, and Discord. So let us know if any of those roles stand out for the updated festival weapons this year, and presumably that event will go live later in October, as we normally see. For today though guys, that's everything we have to speak about. I'll keep you posted with further updates throughout the week as we approach the launch of Crota's End, and of course Bungie's updates on Thursday. So be sure to stay tuned to the channel, get subscribed, and turn on notifications so I can keep you up to date. If you've enjoyed the video today though, a rating below really does help us out, and give us any thoughts you have on the season now that we've had a full week of it. So far I think it's looking pretty good, certainly more interesting than Season of the Deep was on the whole, but we'll see how it pans out over time. Otherwise though, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.